Man. Say it again. This fucking team. Not a great this fucking team, but still, this fucking team. Look, there's gonna be a lot of things to talk about tonight as the Knicks lose in overtime to the Los Angeles Clippers, a game that I mean that was like 3 games in one. There was the first 3 quarters, and then the fourth quarter, and then the overtime. I'm just gonna come out right now and say that I am going to be largely positive tonight, and I am sure that will bother some people. Um, because that's it's kind of the vibe of this team, which is a shame too, because and it has to do with the reason that I'm going to be positive tonight. Because if there's one thing more than inept management, more than good coaches that come here and are terrible, or decent players that come here and look like they don't know how to play basketball, or the inability to get the big player, or any other number of things that you could try to define this team with over the last 20 plus years, before the last couple of years. It was a lack of effort. It was turning on games and they go down in the first quarter and it's like, okay, well, they're going to lose by 35 tonight, or they'll probably end up losing by 15 or so because the game gets so out of hand that, you know, they'll make whether it's a patented Nick fake comeback or it's more just like, let's get the score respectable. And this team doesn't do that. And they're more talented than a lot of the teams that we've watched, over the last 20 plus years. I get that, and that matters. But they have heart, and they fight, and they don't give in. It doesn't matter who they're playing. It doesn't matter if they're not shooting well on a given night. It doesn't matter if the other team that they're playing is shooting outstanding, which is the sort of thing that will very easily sap morale. This team doesn't quit. They don't give in. They did a little bit early in the season when they were figuring some things out and the vibes were really bad. But for the most part, they fight. And I think what we witnessed in the fourth quarter, going into the fourth quarter, 15 down. I mean, really, it's not just that they went into the fourth quarter 15 down. Like, they were outclassed all night. And I maybe I shouldn't use the word outclassed, because that implies there's a lot of ways you could take that. Clippers are just really fucking good. And they look like the team that a lot of people, including myself, picked to go to the finals before the season started. They were hitting a lot of good shots. I didn't think the defense was that bad. There were some quibbles that we will talk about. And there were certainly some things that the Knicks that were frustrating about how the Knicks played over the first 3 quarters that we will talk about. And all that's valid, but it's more to my point that, like, if ever there was a game where it's like, okay, guys, we got another game tomorrow, let's just lay down and die. But the Knicks don't do that, and credit to the bench unit. The bench unit went, after the lead went up to 17, after I forget what Clippers scored to start the fourth quarter, they got it down to 8. Now, after they got it down to 8, lead went back up to 12, and then the starters came in, and then it was like, oh, okay, well, the starters are going to do what the starters we've seen a lot of times do and not come up huge. Well, guess what? They came up huge. And what they did down the stretch of that game, I'm not sure what was more impressive. What they did on offense against that group. I mean, that's a really hard team to score against. Or on defense. And we're going to talk about some of the one in particular, very special defensive performance, I thought, especially down the stretch of that game, that really stood out to me. But, to go up 3 after being down 17, a 20-point fourth quarter turnaround, if you say that out loud, it sounds a little insane, even in this day and age of the NBA, where 20-point fourth quarter turnarounds are not that crazy. But for the Knicks to do it against that team, it's impressive. Jalen Brunson, I again run out of things to say about him. The dude was sick. The dude was a game time decision. Didn't know if he was even going to play tonight. That's apparently how sick he was. and he comes out and he puts up 40, including like, and look, there's been a lot of complaints about Jalen Brunson, which is why I thought my favorite tweet of the night was from Benji, and it came sometime in the middle of the third quarter when I think Brunson scored 10 of the first 12 points for the Knicks, where it's like, this is what happens when you get a guy and you get to watch a guy every night. You start to harp on the negatives, right? And you start to harp on what the player doesn't do, and you start to harp on the player's imperfections as opposed to what he does well. And no, Jalen Brunson isn't a quote-unquote natural point guard. And yes, the offense does get a little bogged down occasionally, maybe a little bit more than a little occasionally. That's not all on him, but he's the point guard, so he owns it. Dude had 41 points on 19 shots tonight and 7 assists. Game time decision. I don't know what more you could say. Impeccable performance. Got them the lead that should have been enough to win. The last possession of regulation, I've now had a chance to rewatch it a few times. 3 gripes. One, and these are the gripes that are going to come up tonight. I'm saying I'll let you know if it was my gripe or not. Didn't come down with the rebound after the initial miss. I thought RJ, and look, we'll talk about RJ. RJ, you don't usually see him come down with the big rebound. He struggles there, and he was the closest man to the ball and didn't come down with the rebound. I don't have a huge issue with it. Ball got tipped up into the air. At that point is where, sitting here now, it's like, okay, you could foul there. You're up 3, right? Couple things. One, when the ball, I forget who had the ball. I think it was Kawhi had the ball initially. By the time he passed it out to Paul George, I want to say there was like 4 seconds left. And then maybe 3 seconds left. And then, or actually, there might have been another intervening pass. I forget. But it was, I think might have been a second pass. So it was bang, bang, and then to Paul George, and then Paul George hit it out to Batum, and then Batum hit the 3. I'm not even going to harp on like, well, at 4 seconds, do you foul the guy, because that's enough time? Well, we did see a game earlier this season where a team was down 3 and a guy missed a free throw and got his own miss and put it back in. So it's like, we already know that that's not a guarantee, but I think it's still the smart play. At the same time, you're playing that defensive possession. You are like, that is as in the thick of it as you're going to get. That was a 20 some odd seconds left defensive possession. You're guarding the possession in your mind the whole time with got to prevent the 3, got to prevent the 3, got to prevent the 3. I don't play ball. I wish I had time to. I haven't played ball since I was a fucking little kid. So maybe there's someone who's watching or multiple people who are watching now that could correct me if I'm wrong on this. I would imagine that it takes an awful lot of awareness to flip the switch and be like, oh, wait, now time's running out, and now it's maybe a different situation. Now I should foul. I'm not going to personally get on them for not fouling again when I think it was in Kawhi's hands with whatever, 6, 5, 4 seconds remaining. Now, is Tibbs yelling foul there? Should Tibbs be yelling foul there? Those are 2 questions I can't answer. If he wasn't yelling foul there, maybe he should have been. But again, I would argue that there is at least a different viewpoint. And then the third thing that I would have a gripe with, and that I do have the biggest gripe with, is Hardenstein's contest on the Batum 3. I don't understand why he didn't like full force close out. He hesitated. He stopped his contest, he planted, and then he jumped, as opposed to just running out and trying to swat at it. And I think if he does that, he gets the pump fake. And like, again, even that I don't think is completely fair, because there's a difference between forcing a pump fake with a second and a half left on the clock and forcing a pump fake with, 0.8 seconds left on the clock. Again, this is all bang, bang stuff. It happens. The final possession in totality, it happens. it sucks. It is I won't say it's the worst way to lose because I could think of about at least 2 and probably 3 or 4 times this year where I thought losses were worse because they did so, unlike other losses where they did so much bad down the stretch, they didn't do anything bad in the fourth quarter. Literally anything at all. And then they almost won it, and it was just bang, 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 some plays you wish you would have back. And it's easy to criticize. It's easy to criticize. And people are going to criticize tonight, and that's fine. But I just wanted to attempt to give it some perspective. As for the overtime, I mean, it's reminded me a lot of the Dallas overtime. I can't even imagine the emotional letdown after that game goes to overtime to begin with. And it's not like they completely fell apart in overtime. You know, some of those turnovers you'd like to have back. But, like, I think what probably happened is after the 3 went down to get them into overtime, it gave the Clippers a chance to regroup because they were not a regrouped team down the stretch of that game in regulation. It gave them a chance to regroup and be like, okay, let's remember who we are. Let's, like, defend how we know how to defend. And I think their defense is really what won them. Well, I shouldn't say that. Their offense was freaking outstanding tonight. And the Knicks had issues. We'll talk about some of those issues. We'll talk about some of the personnel decisions that were made. There are opportunities to go small against that team. Tom Thibodeau did not go small once tonight. He played a traditional center for all 53 minutes of action. Absolutely worthy of critique. Would we be critiquing it if that Nick Batum 3 doesn't go down? Probably not. But they lose the game. It's open to critique. And I do want to at least limit it. I personally am not someone who thinks you could play small with Zubac in there. I think Zubac kills you on the offensive boards regardless. I think Hartenstein did a nice job tonight. And I think in general, the team did pretty good tonight. Pretty good, maybe is a little strong in terms of protecting the defensive glass, and preventing offensive rebounds. But I thought Hartenstein was really good tonight. Yes, he had a couple turnovers you'd like to have back. Not going to kill him for him. But for the minutes that Zubac isn't in there, those are minutes you go small. Topping out a nice night tonight in however many minutes he got. No reason you couldn't have played him more minutes during those specific minutes. Would that have made a difference? Would it have made a positive difference? Would it have made a negative difference? Again, they lost the game, so it's open to second guessing, right? That's what we get to do. It's our luxury to be able to sit here and do that. And then I guess there's the RJ stuff. The RJ stuff. What is the RJ stuff? He's a tough guy to talk about, and he's a tough guy for me to evaluate. Like this team, he does not give up. He does not give in. Hit some big shots down the stretch. I don't have an issue with Tibbs playing him as much as he did because I don't believe that there was another option. Again, putting the non-Zubac minutes aside, I don't think you could go super small against that team with Brunson, Quickly, and Grimes. I think for as much as RJ struggled tonight guarding Kawhi, and it was mostly Kawhi that he had the assignment on. I mean, he struggled guarding other people too, but it was mostly Kawhi. I think there's an argument that was still their best option because if you get Quickly out there or in there, and then you have Brunson and Grimes in there, then they're hunting you. And this team, they're not perfectly designed, which is why a Kyrie Irving rumor came out tonight. Although I don't know if that's going to solve their point guard issues, but like this team is designed to hunt mismatches. That's what they do. That's how they score. And you could do any kind of defense you want. And we saw them punish the Knicks in several different ways tonight. This is probably going to sound crazy. I actually didn't think the Knicks 3-point defense was that bad. I thought the Clippers hit shots. There were a couple of drop coverages there, specifically involving Sims. I think we're seeing a lot of Sims warts. He's just not ready for prime time. But I thought when Hartenstein was in there, I thought a lot of their hard hedges were really good. I thought Hartenstein in general covered the perimeter pretty good. I thought they switched when it was the right opportunity to switch. But again, that team will beat you on switches. Trying to think if I missed anything. Yeah, I guess the last point on the RJ, and then I'll say the other thing that I wanted to say before and forgot about. The thing you wish you had with RJ, like, look, he went 6 for 21 tonight. Emmanuel quickly went 3 of 12. Now, granted, RJ hit some big shots down the stretch, and that's important, matters. But quickly will play a game, and he will not shoot well, and you still feel like he's a positive, or at least a net neutral, because of everything else he does, because of his decision making, because of his defense. I wish there were more games where we felt the same way about RJ, where he has a poor shooting game and doesn't do things like, it was a moment, I think it was in the third quarter, maybe it was in the first half, I don't know, I lost track of time, where he gets caught up. Not caught up. He misses a shot. He misses a shot that he should have made. It's a nice little push shot from short mid-range, and has his reaction when he misses a shot that he should make, where he's like not happy with himself, and he kind of momentarily is lost in the clouds. And as he's getting lost in the clouds, his assignment, Kawhi Leonard, streaks over to the top side of the court, and RJ's nowhere near him because he's kind of like, oh, I'm on this side of the court. I guess I'll kind of pick up this guy. If he had been engaged from the moment that he missed that shot, he goes and picks up Kawhi. Instead, Jalen Brunson has to go pick up Kawhi. And that's a bad mismatch. So Randall comes over to help. Ball kicks over to whoever Randall was guarding behind the three. 3-point goal in semi-transition. It's shit like that you get too often. And that's my biggest complaint. I don't mind RJ going 6 for 21. I mean, it's not ideal, but I can live with that. It's the other stuff that I have an issue with, and I hope he gets better with. Last thing I want to say, I'm not going to sit here and say his defense was impeccable all night, but Julius Randle's defense on Kawhi Leonard, and there's a particular play. I think maybe it was the Clippers' penultimate possession of the game. I forget, or maybe the one before that. One of either their second to last or third to last possession of regulation, where he D'd up Kawhi Leonard like a champ. And we know that's in there. And that's why it's so frustrating when he doesn't bring that. But, man, he took on the challenge. And I want to give him a lot of credit for that. He also gave the keys to Brunson at the end of this game and worked out pretty well. I think that's it. I'll get to the moment of the game now. Last thing else. I think the ball movement was pretty good tonight because that's been an issue. It's been something we talk about often. I mean, the Knicks had tonight 30 assists on 45 made field goals, which I think they had. This is like their second or third game of the season, maybe third or fourth game of the season where they've had 30 assists. That's a good ratio. That's good ball movement. I thought they were moving well. I thought they were moving themselves. I thought they were moving the ball, the whole thing. Okay. Moment of the game. Let's do moment of the game. 3 candidates. Pretty easy for me. Grimes 3, which I believe put them up 1. First time they took the lead all game. Then it was the second to last possession because then it was or maybe it was the last possession. I don't know. Whatever. Randall's stop on Kawhi. You guys know which one I'm talking about if you watch this game. And then the Brunson driving field goal to put them up 3. That should have been the final margin, but it wasn't because that is this Knicks season. Inexplicable in every way a season could be inexplicable. All right, quick personal injury report presented by our friends at Weiss and Rosenblum. No Mitch tonight. Not great. I think Mitch would have made a difference. I miss Mitchell Robinson. I really do miss Mitchell Robinson. He, on a lot of these, again, if you put him in and you replace the Sims minutes with Mitchell Robinson, like, they're holding their own for the most part. They're holding their own since Mitch went down. But I really wonder what their record would be if they had Mitch for these. Because, again, this is a game. I think they win if Mitchell Robinson's in this game. I really do. And I don't think I think they win. I think there's probably at least another win or two. But hopefully he comes back soon. On the bright side, not injured tonight, Jalen Brunson. Again, thanks to our friends at Weiss and Rosenblum. You can contact them at 212-366-6100. Again, law offices of Weiss and Rosenblum, personal injury attorneys, 212-366-6100, or contact them at weissandrosenblum.com. Visit them today. Don't hire a rookie. Hire a veteran. Call them if you think you have a case. All righty. I think I'm ready. Bring it on. Here we go. Mythic Monty starts us off. They are a joke defensively without Mitch. Sims at 24 years old provides no offense and won't get much better. I did think Sims had a nice pass to the corner that missed. That's about all Sims contributed. With Mitch always hurt, maybe trade for a big. Look, I think they've struggled immensely on defense without Mitch. They're just not a very good defensive team without him. I don't want to say they're a joke. I think they certainly weren't a joke in the fourth quarter when they played their asses off, and then you're like, okay, well, why can't they do that for 4 quarters? They can. It's partially an effort thing. I think it's still partially an execution thing. I think they could execute better at times. Do I want to trade for a center? Do I want to give up on Mitchell Robinson? I'm not there. I think Mitch is. I think if you ask me, do I think Mitch will be the starting center on this team if and when, God willing, they're like a contending team? No, I don't. I think it'll be someone else. But for right now, I'm not going that far. Thanks, Mythic Monty. Appreciate it. Frank Miranda, what's going on, Frank? Hey, Mac, it's your boy Frank. I wonder where this is going. It's your boy Frank from Patreon. I'm sending this super chat at the end of the third quarter, but KFS should look into selling Valtrex for the eyesore that is RJ Barrett. I would buy it up. I didn't know we had super chats from like throughout the game. Okay, now I got to be on really the lookout here. Yeah, not a great game for RJ from the field. Thank you, Frank. Appreciate it as always. Contributions are always appreciated. Sam Garcia, John, I can see why you hate RJ Barrett. I don't hate RJ Barrett. I really don't. It's funny. I was having a back and forth in our Discord. Shout out to all of our patrons a few days ago about it was about Tibbs, and I was basically making the point I don't think Tibbs is a great coach. I think he's a perfectly fine coach, but I I do what I do when I get up here and I constantly defend him because I think the conversation is out of whack, and I think there's just too much negativity. And there are reasons for why I think that is that are neither here nor there. I think the reason that I have this reputation of being an RJ hater is I thought the conversation was out of whack for many years, but in a different way. And everybody loved him for years and years and years. And how dare he not get on the all rookie team? And how dare you think about trading him for, Donovan Mitchell and so on and so forth. And I'm like, I knew what the numbers said, and the numbers, and I'm not even just taking it okay, these are the numbers now. I lost count of how many historical comparisons I did where I okay, players, this volume, this age, this many years in the league, 1 year, 2 year, 3 year, 4, and this efficiency in comparison to league average. And the funny thing is, the funniest part of it, my issues with him now are largely not really related to his offense. I've kind of accepted what he is on offense, and I think he's actually had a pretty good he's had a good offensive year for him. He's had a better offensive year than I may have expected. It's how the other parts of his game have just kind of fallen by the wayside. And all the research and thinking I've done of this player over the years, that is not something I saw coming. So, it's more surprise than anything. But no, I don't hate RJ Barrett. I just want RJ to be a little bit better. Thanks, Sam Garcia. Shout out to your whole family. TJ Akai, good effort, but how many centers would still be in the NBA if we had 20 coaches like Tibbs? Whiteside, Dwight, Tristan, the other two, Plumlee's, Hibbert. This is what he believes. He believes you protect the paint. And, what do you want me to say? I could sit here and say they're a Batum three-pointer away from having won the game. And you have to see, how these schemes play out, not only over a full 48 minutes, but over a full 82 games. He's not going to back off that. I think to most people, that is one of his most negative qualities. So you're in good company there. Thanks, TJ. James Choi, what's going on, James? Grimes is taking a half tick longer on his jumper. The difference for him the last two games. He'll go on a hot streak, no foul at the end of regulation. Yeah, we talked about the no foul thing. It's unfortunate. As far as Grimes, excuse me, I'm still a little under the weather tonight. Yeah, I didn't mention him. He was 3 for 6 from downtown, 4 of 8 overall, 13 points, 2 assists. Fouled out in the overtime period, unfortunately. Yeah, I think that's a good observation. I think he's taking a tick longer in general. He's not rushing the drives. He's not rushing the drives on closeouts, so that's for sure. But again, I never worried about Quentin Grimes. That dude's just going to keep getting better. He's like Quickly. They'll just keep getting better and better and better, which is a great luxury to have. Thank you, James. Appreciate it. Cactus Shack. What's going on, Cactus? This team is like that mirage of an oasis you see in the searing desert heat. So tantalizing, but not real. We were happier when we only knew losing. Yeah, I had this conversation with Fred recently. I think this is to some extent what mediocrity looks like. But as I said to Fred, they take mediocrity to the extreme. Again, just not being able, they're not out of any game. I mean, you could look at, what was it? Since the Dallas game, excuse me, since the Dallas game, they were in every game they played. The Dallas game at the beginning of December, I should specify, because I know there were 2 Dallas games. Until I would say the Washington game, which is when they lost Mitch. And then maybe the Atlanta game after that, that was not really close. And then I forget the Toronto game after that. But no, I think they made a kind of a half-hearted comeback attempt there at Toronto. But yeah, they're in everything. They're in every game. So give them credit for that. Hamdy M. What's going on, Hamdy? I have a very in-depth analysis for this game. Effing sucks. # rebounds, rebounds, rebounds. Yep. I wish this was a better defensive rebounding team. I really do. Oh. Okay. Good job by Andrew. Just texted me this. So Tibbs was asked about not fouling there at the end of the game. I didn't realize this. This is a bad job by me. The Knicks had a foul to give. So a foul essentially sets up an like a out of bounds play that they could have set up, which, I don't know if you like that explanation, but that was his explanation, which I think is fair. Dan Hidalgo, what do you think about trading for Jared Vanderbilt? I was wondering how long we would get until we got a trade thing. I mean, it seems like a lot of teams are interested in Jared Vanderbilt. I think Jared Vanderbilt, from what I understand from just about him as a player previously and from having watched Utah probably, I don't know, 5, 6, 7 times this year in any real capacity. I think he's good energy big. Doesn't really shoot it. Shoots like a corner 3 a game, basically. Makes him sometimes. Not enough to be a threat. But it gives you a little bit of positional versatility. I don't know how much that positional versatility is going to matter if he comes here. But I you talk about their issues, right? Defensive rebounding. Well, guess what? Jared Vanderbilt does pretty well. He rebounds really well for his position. He's a good defender. Not a great defender, I don't think, but I think he's a good defender. Again, positional versatility on the defensive end is something that they, I think, value. um, but it would definitely be an investment in defense. And it doesn't surprise me in the least that Obi Toppin was in that rumor, because if you're trading for Jared Vanderbilt, I would be shocked if Obi Toppin remained on this team. Yeah, but it's everything. Like, what are you giving up? And the issue with what are you giving up is it leads to the Obi conversation, and that is a much larger conversation, because are you giving up the guy you drafted 8th overall 2.5 years ago? Or are you giving up the guy that has the value around the league that he does right now, which is just frankly not incredibly high? Because I think there are a lot of teams that have the same questions about what his role looks like on most teams. Now, I don't think it's a coincidence in the least that the two teams that we have heard rumored for him, Indiana and Utah, have centers that could shoot. And one of them, Indiana, who has been rumored for the longest, has a center that could shoot and could protect the rim. Don't think that's a coincidence at all. As for Utah, they have Lauri Markkanen that could play 5 if they want. They have, obviously, Kelly Olynyk, who could play 5 and stretch the floor. And they've been starting Walker Kessler. I would imagine if they did trade for Obi Toppin, he would become the backup 4 there. And you'd see him play a little bit maybe alongside Lauri Markkanen. I imagine you'd see him play alongside Kelly Olynyk a little bit, but he's with another big that can shoot the ball. And, those teams run different schemes than we do here, and they don't have this coach. So different vantage point. Thanks, Dan. Red Sarachek, what's going on, Red? Why not adjust if a team goes 5 out? Why not give clarity when to foul versus waiting 15 seconds and then fouling? Being a pro versus a reactive coach makes a big difference. So again, there's going to be some people who are always going to look at the negative in this coach, and that is fine. That is where we were at. That is where we are at. And he has probably earned that for a lot of people by how he goes about his business. And again, this comment will never be made, but you have a coach who is coaching a team that doesn't ever seem to give up. Now, easy response to that is, well, that's not has nothing to do with the coach. That has to do with the team. Okay. Well, I like how people get to pick and choose the things that have to do with the coach and don't have to do with the coach. That's why, again, not going to sit here and say Tibbs is without mistakes. Everything you bring up here, not adjusting when they go 5 out, not going small. If you have an issue with the fouling thing at the end of the game, it's all fair. I'm just trying to bring balance to the conversation, because nobody seems to want to do that anymore with this particular individual, which is, a shame. Thanks, Red. Robert Cross, first time, long time, John. Can we get Mitch back, for fuck's sake? I would like to. I can't take it any longer. Hashtag 53 wins. They need him. I hope the setback isn't post All-Star break, like Mitch still isn't back. As long as they have him for after the All-Star break, I'll sign for that right now. Oh, would have loved to get this win. Then I would have been 1 away from getting my 500 record by the All-Star break. And now I have to sweat it out some more, because, man, 2 of the next 3 games are against that monster team in Philly, including tomorrow on a back-to-back. Anyway. Kevin Danishevsky, what's going on, Kev? Thank you, as always, for your contribution. So proud of this team. Thank you for being positive, Kevin. I like that. Tonight confirmed my opinion that if you need to make the trade that the fan base will hate and get a big my opinion that if you need to make the trade that the fan base will hate, no, I got it right, and get a big all-defense prime 3 wing for RJ. I don't want to trade RJ tonight. Come on. I don't want to trade RJ at all. I wish we didn't have to trade RJ, and I don't think they necessarily have to trade RJ. What I do think is that unless RJ Barrett becomes a 6-man for this team, they're like they're probably going to trade. They're gonna have to trade someone. You know, Brunson's not gonna be a six. Actually, you know what? I shouldn't even say that. Like I was thinking to myself earlier today. This is probably crazy, but like, imagine they traded for Dame this summer. I'm not saying they should. I'm not saying I want to. I'm just shooting the shit. Imagine they traded for Dame this summer and they went to Brunson before they completed the trade and be like, hey, we could get Dame. You're still, you're still going to play 30 minutes a night, but we think it would work best if you became a six man. What do you think Brunson would say to that? There's a part of me that thinks like he would actually be like, you know what? Whatever you need. What's best for the team? Manu Ginobili made the Hall of Fame coming off the bench. Happy to do whatever you need. Now, he might react a different way, but I know one thing they're never doing as long as he's in this uniform. They're never putting RJ Barrett on the bench, and that's tough because if they eventually get a more ball dominant guy as their like true number one, because I think everybody watching this agrees that they need a true number one. I don't see a true number one slotting in next to these three. I think you need for a lot of reasons. So, yeah, I don't know. I don't know how things are going to roll moving forward, but I'm curious. We'll see. Correct defense. What's going on, correct defense? I don't understand why our best player is inbounding the ball so Randall can make decisions late in the game, make it make sense. Just because your best player is inbounding the ball doesn't mean you can't get it back. One, the guy you're inbounding the ball to is an all-star. Should be noted. Two, number three, I think Randall let Brunson have the ball down the stretch, make decisions in regulation. I know Randall had a turnover in overtime, but so did Brunson have a turnover in overtime. And I didn't think one was particularly worse than the other. There was also the Hardenstein turnover trying to get the ball to Randall, but like, I don't know. Maybe I'm surely forgetting an obvious play that was an issue, but like Brunson's your best passer. So sometimes when your best player is your best passer, you're gonna want to inbound, use that player to inbound the ball. I don't have an issue with it. Thanks, correct defense. Duran visual variant. Thank you, Duran, for chiming in. LOL, with all these creative losses, would we have the best record in the league? Hashtag 53 wins. Excuse me. I'm sorry. I mean, we could go through them, right? So the number that we could look. What's their record right now? I don't even know. I'll look it up what their record is. Their record is 28-26. So if we give them this game, the Clipper game, the Laker game, want to give them the Brooklyn game too? Fuck it. We're having some fun. We'll give them the Brooklyn game, right? The Toronto game on January 6th. No, sorry. The Toronto game that RJ dunked at the end. Give them that. That's 4. Let's do the Dallas game. The second Dallas game. That's 5. The Chicago game with the 2 missed free throws. That's 6. And then you want to throw one of the Milwaukee or one of the Memphis games in there too to make it an easy 7. So if they have 7 more wins, they are a 35-win team, which would make them a 35-win team. And that would be pretty good. Then we might actually be getting to 53 wins. 35-win team would have them with the 4th best record in the league. But, like, look, you're going to lose some of those. Have we lost every one of them? I don't think we've lost every one of them. There were some games that we definitely could have lost that we won. But, like, we've lost more than we should have. I think the record should probably be about 3 games higher. And if they have 3 more wins right now, then, what are they? They're in, they're competing for 5th. But they're still probably 6th. And right now they're 7th. Thanks, Deron. Maple Maxo. What's going on, Maple Maxo? Shout out to GMXC on the pregame pods. Dude has been crushing it. Respect the hustle. Give that man a raise. GMAC, give yourself a raise. I love the pregame pods. I've been enjoying them more and more. The one today with the what is it? Clips and Dip? Was that the name of the pod the guy was from? I forget his guest's name, but I thought it was really, really, really good conversation. And it was great. What I love most about the pregame pods that Andrew's doing is I feel like I get really, really good perspective because the people that he's finding are not they're not Homer fans. They're not overly negative. They're like right down the middle, and they give you a really clear picture of how the season is going and what are the vibes and what is the team good at? What is the team not good at? And in a season like this, that perspective is really necessary because so many times it can feel like, oh my God, we're the only team that has, these issues with the coach and these issues with the roster and these issues and that issue, everybody's having the same issues. Everybody. Yeah. This was a good pod. Thanks, Maple Maxo. Hamdy M, no more French pastries for me, John. Man, I love croissants too. I might go get myself a croissant tomorrow morning. You got me thinking about it now. I'm a huge croissant guy. That's a tough one. Yeah. Thanks, Hamdy. A.E. Kennedy. Not going to lose it, but come on, man. Always something. Yeah. It's one of those years. It's a year. Hey, look at it this way. It's a year we'll never forget. Think about how many years, utterly forgettable years that they've had over the last 20 plus years. They've even had, even when they were good, they had some forgettable years. Like the 95-96 team. That team was a little forgettable, if we're being honest. The 95-96 team. The 94-95 team coming off the finals run, that was a little, maybe not forgettable, but they were, whatever. They just were what they were. The 99-2000 team that went to the conference finals, were they the most memorable team in the world? I don't know. We're not going to forget this team or this year. That's for shit sure. Crazy. Thanks, A.E. Kennedy. Robert Cross, it's your boy John. I want to keep Deuce McBride around. So I had a thought, Robert, thank you for reminding me during this game as I was watching. I'm like, man, Deuce isn't going anywhere. They're not going to trade him. But watching him make threes, and bad job by me. I should have shouted him out earlier. And he's making shots the last couple games, improving, driving, putting the ball on the floor, not looking scared on offense. He's making it tough for them to go and make their trade for Malik Beasley and Jared Vanderbilt and say, all right, Deuce, your time here is done in terms of rotation minutes this season. I think who was I talking to? I was in shout out to the newsletter, KFN Knicks Film School newsletter. Everybody go subscribe. But we've been really having some great conversations in the chat feature now that Substack has. And we were talking about what the rotation would look like with if they made the trade for Beasley and Vanderbilt. And so I think somebody suggested it would be a 9.5 man rotation maybe with Deuce McBride playing minutes in the first half and not maybe always playing minutes in the second half. I could see something like that. And then if he's having a good game, give him minutes in the second half. I could see something like that. But that dude, he's another guy. I've wavered on him. I'm like, I don't know. The offense is too bad. I don't think he's an NBA player. He's coming around. Good stuff, Robert. AMDM, cosign GMAC's pregame shows. Nice job. I love when Andrew gets his love. He's not on tonight, by the way. Justin's on. Andrew has a night off. I like when Andrew gets the weekends to himself because he works his ass off during the week. Let me tell you. Thanks, Hamdi. And C, RJ has a mid 30-point game and can't even be consistent with that. I'm sick of watching RJ brick. Too bad Toronto won't want him. That's harsh. That's harsh. I'm reading that comment. I'm like, man, that's a harsh comment. And like, if you're an RJ stan and you hear that comment, it probably makes you really mad. That's how I feel when I get the Tibbs criticism, which why I try to compose myself. So I want to try to be fair. I think that's unfair. I'm going to push back on that. I don't think Toronto's dying to get RJ, but like, there's enough good there with RJ. And I think a big part of the frustration, a really big part of the frustration, comes from the fact that this player was drafted 3rd overall, has been touted as the face of the franchise. And yeah, I think the Donovan Mitchell stuff matters. I think the fact that people feel like, even though it was not just RJ, it was RJ and a ton of picks and maybe another young player, like people feel like, oh, we kept this guy instead of going to get Donovan Mitchell. I think if RJ Barrett was drafted like 7th or 8th or 9th, and he had progressed exactly as he's progressing, as opposed to being the one that was promised from the moment he got drafted, I bet you now, by the same token, there wouldn't have been all the love and support for him from the outset, and people so going over and above to look past the negatives and be like, nope, he's a worker. He cares so much. He's all about the right things. He's going to be great. I think there would have been a lot less of that. Now, maybe it would have been good for him because he hears all this stuff. Maybe it would have been good for him if there was a little bit less of that. And the reason I say that is because in most, maybe not most drafts, but in a lot of drafts, he would have been like the 7th or the 8th or the 9th pick. Like I'm thinking of the Kuminga draft, which was the big top 5, or what was supposed to be the top 5, except what's his face? Suggs fell to 6 because Barnes went, or no, sorry, it was it was supposed to be the top 4, but Barnes went ahead of Suggs, and then was Giddey, and then was Kuminga, and then was Franz. I actually wonder if RJ would have gone ahead of Franz. RJ might have been the 9th pick in that draft. But like, that's a perfect example. Like if RJ Barrett were sitting here talking about the 9th pick in the draft, I don't think he would have been built up in the way he was built up for so many people. And I'm not saying that that's where your angst is coming from, but I have to think that factors into the kind of emotional cycle that it has been. Because again, he's gotten better this year. Offensively, he's gotten better, shooting wise, and in some other ways. So yeah. I'll defend RJ. Dom Cappuccini, almost 3-0. Coulda, woulda, shoulda. Brunson came out like I thought he would. Free throws, man. Free throws. What do we go? How many free throws did we miss tonight? Too many, I'm sure. The Knicks tonight from the line were, I mean, I could think of some free throws that come to mind. 20-26. Shot 77% from the line. Hardenstein missed 1. Barrett missed 1. Brunson missed 2. Randall missed 2. I mean, I'm not going to kill him for that. But, yeah, it'd be nice to make all of them, or most of them. More of them. Busy. What's going on, my man? Is it fair and reasonable to say that Julius Randle is a better perimeter defender than RJ? This is a great question, Busy. If so, can we get Obi minutes at the 3 like Tommy P suggested? Shout out to Julius Randle for the 4th quarter defense on Kawhi Leonard. When he wants to be. When he wants to be, it's not like I don't want to be unfair here, so I'm going to literally do my thought process out loud, which is what I do for most things. What is the best what's the best defense we've seen from RJ? It was during the We Here year, right? Were there ever games where we saw him placed on an opposing wing and like shut them down? No, I don't. I mean, now granted, we've never seen that from Randall either. But like, I don't know. RJ has been better defensively in his career, but I don't ever remember watching a game and coming out of the game being like, man, RJ, his lockdown defense there for that 5-minute stretch or that 10-minute stretch or that quarter was the difference in that game, or was as big a difference. I don't remember. Maybe I'm sure there's something I'm forgetting, but I don't remember too many of those instances. And his defense has regressed since then. Now, Randall, talking about Randall's defense, I mean, my Lord, what a loaded conversations because we've seen entire games, entire weeks, entire months last season where he just didn't play defense. But no, when he locks in, he's really good. You know? Yeah, I don't know. In terms of Obi at the 3, I think the issue there is then you're talking about Obi's defense. And I have questions about Obi's ability to defend opposing wings. Like Obi's ability to defend this team where everybody can shoot it except Zubac. Everybody else they put on the floor can shoot it. So you got to play up on them, which makes them so challenging to guard, because not only can everybody on this team shoot it, everybody can put the ball on the floor. There is not a single player that cannot put the ball on the floor, whether it's Mook, Batum, Man. They love Man for good reason. Reggie Jackson, when he's getting minutes, obviously Reggie Jackson can put the ball on the floor. He's a point guard. Kennard, when he plays, he didn't even play tonight. He could put the ball on the floor. I'm trying to think who I'm forgetting. Oh, Norm Powell. That dude, I mean, he might win 6th Man of the Year if they actually put their shit together this season, Norm Powell. Skilled shot maker. Now, something's going on outside my apartment. Now, when those guys put the ball on the floor, they don't always make the best decisions. And I think that's fair. But like Obi, we've seen him struggle to guard in space. You know, that's not, I don't think I'm being unfair there. So the thought process of like putting Obi at the 3, I think it could work against some teams. I don't know if tonight was the night I would have done that. Tonight's the night that I would have went with Randall and Obi at the 4 and the 5. When Zubac was off the floor. That's, I think, the more valid criticism. But that's just me. Thanks, Busy. Sam L. It's wacky to me how fixated the vocal minority of the fan base is on Tibbs. You're talking to the wrong person. The team is overperforming with a young roster with flexibility and room for growth. It's the nature of Tibbs. He pisses a lot of people off. But I'll probably save my larger thoughts until the day that he loses his job, because I think there's more to it than that. And I think it has to do not even as much with, I think Tibbs gets a lot of more shit than most NBA coaches because he's very rigid. And I think that in particular rubs a lot of people the wrong way. And nobody, like, again, if you're a fan of a team, it's not your job to sit there and be like, well, we must be fair. We must take every argument. We must take every criticism to its logical conclusion to make sure it is valid. Nobody wants to fucking do that. I'm the only asshole who sits here and goes through that exercise because I'm a lawyer. I'm always going to be a lawyer. That's how my mind works. And I guarantee you, there are a lot of lawyers watching this be like, hey, fuck you, buddy. I'm not in that boat. Good for you. But like the combination of me having that's how my mind works. And I talk about this team and I write about this team so much, I'm always going to play it out. And when I play it out, I'm like, okay, well, let's think about some of the reasons why he may be inflexible. And let's think about some of the reasons why he is so set in his ways and some of the possible benefits that he feels like he derives from that we may not see or we may not be cognizant of, or some of the things that maybe we are seeing. We just don't realize we're seeing because, you know, we're not behind the scenes every day. Nobody wants to do that. They just see a stubborn old man. You know? But I do think it's most coaches. I think most coaches get that treatment. It's the reason I think it's a shame though, and part of this is, and it factors into the Tibbs thing because they've had so many tough losses this year, it has made the season, what should be a really good feel good season, I think tough for a lot of people to enjoy. And that's a shame because they're a fun team, they're a good team, and they are young and they're like doing it the right way, I think. But yeah. Thanks, Sam. Ham DM with another one. You're right as always. I did like the fight in the fourth quarter. I'm not right. I'm never right. I do like this team. I like their toughness and they give effort. Thanks, Andy. I agree. Dom Cappuccini. I'm still proud of this team's fight. There we go. Another one. 2 good positive comments in a row. Surprise all of us tomorrow, please. And Leon, give us a nice surprise on Thursday, too. I feel like if they – I have a very, very strong feeling that whatever trade they make, people are not going to like. That's my gut feeling. Even if it's just Cam, which, yeah, even if it's just Cam. Asking them to beat Philly tomorrow, that's a tall ask. And that's why this game kills you and the Laker game kills you, because those are right there. And like, I know we were talking about this team always fights. If they go out there tomorrow and they just don't have it, like, I'll not that I'll give them a pass, but like, you understand it. Who knows though? We'll see. Thanks, Tom. Dan Hidalgo, what's going on, Dan? We were outplayed, let's be honest. Would have been highway robbery to steal that one in regulation. I knew it was going to overtime when the Clips got the board. Yeah, I mean, because the Clippers are a better team. The Clippers, I think all you need to do is look at their record with Kawhi Leonard and Paul George. I think they flashed it tonight. I think if you extrapolate that record out over the entire season, they'd be, 2 in the West or 3 in the West or something, and they'd be viewed as a contender. It's the games that Paul George and Kawhi have either both sat out or one of them have sat out that has them with the record that they have. But like, that team is fucking nasty. They really are. The point guard thing is a major fucking issue. It is a major issue, and it's a major issue. But that team is good, man. And when they're hitting shots like they were tonight, I mean, didn't Paul George and Kawhi Leonard both go for 30? And an efficient 30, too. Nasty team. Thanks, Dan. A.B. Levisky. Hey, KFS fam. I'm a newbie Knicks fan compared to the vast majority. Well, welcome aboard, and thank you for joining us on this postgame. Started watching the Knicks and Knicks Film School December 21st, courtesy of my boyfriend. Oh, I'm going to have a comment about that. Tonight, I was given the gift of a lifetime tickets to see the Knicks at MSG. So, one, I'm so happy that you feel like seeing the Knicks play at MSG tonight and getting your heart broken at the end of the night was the gift of a lifetime. That's awesome. 2, we need to have a long conversation with your boyfriend that, like, we all of us, most of us, this sickness, it was like imbued in us from our parents, from an older sibling, maybe, that thought that didn't, maybe it's like, oh, I have a son, I have a daughter, something for us to do together. Like, you could forgive that. To do this to someone that you care about as like a grown I'm assuming you're, on the older side, or at least like not a child, because it would be weird if you were a child and you had a boyfriend. Anyway, leave that one. Yeah. So like, tell your boyfriend that Jonathan Macri said, "How dare you bring me into this living hell that we wouldn't trade for anything." To be clear, But yes, glad you had a good time at the game. Mike Jameson, what's going on, Mike? I know there will be RJ slander, but I respect how no matter how he's playing, he stays the same. There's two sides to that coin, though, right? There's two sides to that coin. Late game offense running through Julius can't continue. Again, maybe I'm missing something on this one. I thought the late game in regulation, the offense ran through Brunson. To me, the biggest issue was after Brunson got going in the third quarter, it seemed like they turned the game over to Randall, and that didn't go so well. That's the bigger issue that I had. I know we haven't talked at all about the first three quarters of this game by and large, but that's the bigger issue that I had. And then Julius thought he should have gotten a foul call. Then he thought he should have gotten another foul call. And then it got in his head, and it affected his play. And that period of time was my bigger issue in this game. Again, the overtime, I'm like, when you get to overtime like that, it's tough for me to criticize, because it's just, I mean, your heart, you're emotionally just sapped. But that's me. But I agree with you for what it's worth. Anyway, who do we got now? Oh, AB with another one. Abby. I hope Abby. Your wisdom is immeasurable. This can't be a real person. Who paid you, Abby? Yet so accessible and has infinitely grown my love for this team. Hashtag trade nobody. Hashtag I miss Mitch. Hashtag 82 wins. Hashtag LOL Nets. Hashtag Jalen Snubson. Oh, I like Jalen Snubson. That's good, Jalen Snubson. Also, it just occurred to me, you said December 21st was your first Knicks game. What was that game? That was the Toronto game. Okay. That they lost. They lost that game. That was after the Golden State game that they won. They lost that Toronto game. So your first game was a loss, and you fell in love with the team, huh? That you watched, I think. Thank you for the kind words. That, again, this is probably an inside joke. I'm going to take the compliments, even though my wisdom is quite measurable. And you don't need a long fucking ruler to measure it. Thanks, Abby. Greg Film Stuff. What's up, Greg? New York was in position to win tonight, and I can't be mad at it. Had the game if we could have collected the rebound that led to Batum's three, even though I think iHeart could have closed out better. Well, me and you saw the same thing there. This kind of effort can attract stars. Greg Film Stuff, I don't thank you enough, because you always give like really generous contributions, and that's very meaningful, so thank you. That's number one. Number two, it's so funny because like we excuse me, the tanking season 2018-19, right? We thought we were going about it the right way, and maybe they were going about it the right way, whatever. But the conversation after that year was purely after June 30th, I should specify. We have to do it like the Clippers and the Nets did it, right? We have to do it like they did it. It's not enough to be a big market. Sorry, I just turned on the Hawks game because I need something to make me happy tonight. And the Hawks are losing to Denver, and I just want to see them lose. So we stay in seventh place. Anyway, because we thought that if we turned it around and we became a respectable franchise, stars would want to come here. It's funny that we don't even have that conversation anymore, which I don't think that's a good thing. I think we should still be having the same conversation. That is an important conversation to have. And I think maybe the reason that we don't have the conversation anymore is because for a couple reasons. One, free agency's died. Since 2018, free agency's dead, and there's a question as to whether it's ever going to be coming back. That's number one. Number two, we were this feisty feel-good story 2 years ago, and there was nobody to sign and there was nobody to trade for. So then they went out and spent money on Evan Fournier and Kemba Walker and brought back the whole core, and then it just kind of went to shit last year. So it was like, all right, you did that, and it didn't really work because you couldn't take another step up. I don't think it's a conversation we should forget about, though. And like, okay, free agency's dead. Now it comes down to stars wanting to go there via trade. And then, oh yeah, how could I forget this? The third part of why we don't talk about it anymore, because a star wanted to come here. He was thrilled to come here. He would have walked here from Utah. But it wasn't the time. It wasn't the move, So, like, I think for all those reasons why, that's, I think, why we don't talk about it as much anymore. I still say I agree with you. I think we should talk about it. I think it matters. So, yeah. Let's hope it pays off. Forgotten NYC, minority take, but I love the proposed Jazz trade. I don't hate it. And I think if you're someone that's sitting here and you hate it, I can think of a few reasons why you'd hate it. I would imagine the reason most people would hate it is because of Obi Toppin going out in the trade. And that requires a longer conversation. And if you hate it because you have Obi Toppin going out in the trade, I'm not saying that that's not valid. That is completely valid, but there's just a much longer conversation that needs to happen with, like, how this organization has been run since Leon Rose took over. I think I'm legally mandated to do this because I do it probably once a month, but like, they were 20 games or 25 games into the 2019 or 2020-21 season. Randall was balling his brains out. Would go on to make the All-Star team and All-NBA and get MVP votes. They had just drafted Obi Toppin. I don't know what you could have gotten for Randall, but you could have gotten something, especially with the team option the next year. They had his replacement right there. They just drafted him. And they said, nope. This guy's leading us to wins. We like the wins. Let's get those wins. That's what they decided to do. And look, it may pay off. But to anyone who's going to sit and be like, the trading Obi Toppin for this package or including him in this package is a disaster, it all comes back, to me at least, to their decision to, their priorities. That's all. Thanks, Forgotten. Fritz Marty Jr. Thank you, Fritz Marty Jr., for the very generous contribution as well. The Knicks are the 10th rated team in the league. They are. You sound like me. Let the building people relax, people, and let the building process happen and stop nitpicking our team. Y'all delusional as hell. Where were we 4 years ago? Yeah, I don't think anybody wants to hear me talk about how hard it is to build a team in the NBA when you come from nothing. And they came from nothing. It is hard, and it is messy, and it's often going to leave people angry because when people get a taste of success, they want more success. They don't want to go backwards. And it's frustrating because improving as a team, it's not like a stairway, I don't think, where you like, okay, we've advanced to the next step. Now, any of the issues that we had or any of the problems that we had the previous step are gone and they don't exist anymore. You would like to think that you're always advancing and you're always improving and you're always getting better and you are progressing towards a goal. But the notion that, like, you can eliminate messiness along the way has never been something that I bought into. And again, I think your best proof of that is just turn on literally any NBA game on any given night. I'm like, again, I just said, I'm watching the Hawks. The Hawks, it's so funny. I was listening to, I forget what podcast, I think it may have been might have been the Hoop Collective, or maybe I did tune into the Simmons fake trade draft thing because I was doing some chores earlier and I ran out of stuff to listen to. But like somebody was like, who are the Hawks gonna like? The Hawks are kind of set at every position, right? Like the guy they want to get rid of is John Collins, but like, John Collins is a pretty good basketball player. Now, sure, if you could swap John Collins out for Kawhi Leonard or something, you'd love to do that. But like that's not realistic. Like the Hawks built themselves a really good team on paper. All-star point guard, another all-star point guard, Clint Capella, guy in the Defensive Player of the Year conversation, or at the very least, all defense conversation for at center. DeAndre Hunter signed him to a $90 million deal. He's been okay. Collins is like not nearly as bad as people seem to think. They have good players off the bench. They've gotten nice production from the Griffin kid who people wanted us to draft. Like all this stuff. And you look at their year, and their year is a freaky mess. Look at the Clippers. Look at the Warriors. Look at the Lakers. And we could go on and on and on and on and on. All these listed teams. It's hard. It's hard. It's messy, and oftentimes it makes you feel like you're going backwards instead of forwards. I don't know. I wish I had a better answer. And I understand I'm coming off like an apologist, but like it's just, this is what I see. This is what I see. Thanks, Fritz. Busy. The dunk on Julius Randle, I could see him going to the bench saying, "See, this is why I don't play defense." Shout out to Julius Randle, man. That was a really good defensive possession. And everybody made their rotation. And his rotation was the last rotation. And he made the fucking rotation. And he got himself into play. And he's on a poster. Good job by him. Seriously, good job by him. And I know he fouled him too, but like good job by him getting in there. That shows me that he cares, which is more meaningful to me than the fact that he got scored on. Thanks, Busy, for bringing that up. I'd forgotten about that. Jay, what's going on? Daily reminder, this coach will get exposed in the playoffs. Luke coached circles around tips. Really? The guy with Kawhi Leonard and Paul George who needed a buzzer beater 3 to go in, coach circles around Thibodeau? Oh, okay, that's good. Obi 12 minutes for a small ball lineup. Good. God, move on. All right. Well, look, you're in good company because more people agree with you than agree with me, so you must be right. Congratulations, Jay. Kevin Danishevsky. I love that Tibbs went with the IQ Grimes Deuce lineup there. I love this. This is great. Randall was really good tonight, but he needs to continue to work on controlling his emotions. I think he'll be working on that until he's 80. Jalen Brunson will end up as a top 10 Knick ever. My God, Kevin. That might be worse than dropping your top 20 all-time list into the freaking playback chat. I can't do that right now. I can't. I'm just trying to think of who I had at 10th. Just all right. See, this is me. I can't fucking help myself. Frazier, Reed, Ewing, DeBuscher, Carmelo. That's an easy top 5. He's not getting above any of those 5. Bill Bradley. No. He's not getting above Bill Bradley. After that, you could go in a couple directions. You want to go Bernard King. You go Bernard King. You want to go Houston. You want to go Oakley. You want to go Starks. You want to go Dick Barnett. Like, all of these guys are like royalty. Well, Oakley's not royalty anymore because of reasons, but like all these guys are royalty. And I haven't even brought up like the guys that played in the 50s. And I understand people want to dismiss those, but like, it's so funny. Like every third trivia question, guess who it is? It's Harry Gallatin, right? Or Carl Braun. Like, go look up those fucking guys' stats and what they did in leading this team to 3 straight finals. Earl Monroe, my God. How can I forget about Earl the Pearl? Like, there is such a solid. I looked at it the other day because I was looking at it for Randall, actually, because he's climbing up, and now he has 2 All-Star appearances. This organization has a really solid top 20 of all time. That is not easy to crack. I didn't even mention Latrell Sprewell. Another guy. Yeah, it's going to be tough, man. Top 25. I'll give you top 25. I think that's possible. To get in the top 20, he's going to have to win some. Got to win some playoff games, playoff series to get in the top 20. Is he going to be here when they do that? I don't know. I hope so. Fritz Marty Jr. Thank you again for the generous contribution, Fritz. We are tied in record with Dallas and have a better record than Golden State and Phoenix with this squad. Are these trolls serious in here? I'm starting to lose faith with our delusional fan base. Well, don't go by. There's a reason I never. I probably shouldn't admit this. There's a reason I never read the comments in here. But like, that's fandom, Fritz. I mean, it's fandom in 2023, especially. I'll say that. It is what it is. There are reasons for it, but they have mostly to do with the world we live in and the nature of discourse and how no matter what your opinion is, there will be a vocal someone out there with a platform, with a real platform that gives your opinion weight and merit. So you feel like it is a valid opinion, It's a world we live in. And Atlanta's about to lose. Dom Cappuccini, cheer me up, John. What's your prediction on the record of the last 6 games based on what we've seen from them over the last 2 weeks? So Dom is talking about the last 6 games before the All-Star break, in which they play Philly at home tomorrow, at Orlando. I've been looking at this freaking Orlando game for the last 3 weeks. Watching this Orlando team. I watched them again. Who did they play? They played Minnesota last night, I think it was. They play Charlotte next. This team's good. That Orlando team's good. Then they go to Philly. Then they got Utah at home, Brooklyn at home. Who's suiting up for Brooklyn in that game, although they won tonight in a big comeback. And then at Atlanta. My gut tells me that they would do well to go 2-6. Sitting here right now, I really want to predict 3-3. I want to predict that they are going to figure out a way to win 3 of these last 6 games. I want to do that. I want to give you that, Dom. Fuck it. 3-3. There you go. Fingers crossed. It's not going to be easy. Sam L. The Knicks took their first lead of the game in the last 90 seconds. 113-112. A young, injured team battled hard. I don't want to hear the doomers. There must be a lot of doom and gloom in the chat, man, that people are feeling the need to come into and express opposing sentiments in the super chats. Man alive. So, thank you, Sam. Yes, I agree. I wish I had something to add. But I've kind of said it all already. Appreciate that. Don't be doom and gloom. No reason to be doom and gloom. You know the reason not to be doom and gloom? Also because, and I said this after the Miami game, this team has had no less than 4 opportunities, I guess, this season to pack it in, to just be like, man, fuck this. This ain't happening for us this year. And they never do it. They never do it. And they just keep fighting. And again, I am curious about, here's the one thing I will say about the doom and gloomers. I want to know how many of the last 20 some odd years, not only that they like remember, I'm not talking about like, oh yeah, you like we sucked. But like you actually sat there and watched game after game and week after week and month after month and year after year, quite literally, where the team just didn't care. Like you had a bunch of guys who were just trying to get stats. They shouldn't care, to show up and do the things necessary to win. Like I have a hard time imagining that people who actually sat there and watched the entirety of those seasons would now be sitting here and being so dismissive of the effort that this team gives. Or maybe they just have short memories. I don't know. My gut feeling is that there are perhaps some people who, may have checked out of those seasons because they didn't really care for what they were watching. But I would never accuse any fan of being a casual. That's for sure. Kyle Korith, big frustration with RJ are the two drafted above him. I mean, yeah, but you can't help that, right? Like, if anything, I think it's the Garland piece. But like, I've never lost sleep over the fact that we took RJ over Garland. And Garland's a better player, but I never lost sleep over that. It's sometimes you get lucky and sometimes you don't. Yeah, it's unfortunate. And thank you, Kyle. Sheldon Gomes, it felt like RJ was actually doing a good job staying in front of Paul George and Kawhi early in the game, then started missing shots and the effort faded a bit. I'm happy you brought that up, Sheldon, because my initial impression of his defense for most of this first half was that it was pretty good. And I think I got a little skewed because of it not staying at a decent level. And again, that's a thing where your shot's not falling. Okay, it's fine. Shot's not falling. How else can you help the team tonight? And he made some nice passes. I thought we've seen RJ have struggles on offense and then allow those struggles on offense to actually make his offensive process worse. I would argue that I thought he had his offensive process in this game was I think it was pretty good the whole time. And if anything, I would argue it got better down the stretch where he was trying to work it out in a way that I respected. And I thought I could see him trying to do that. I agree with you on the defensive part of it. It's also not easy. He also played a shit ton of minutes, which is the thing, like, for anybody who wants to criticize RJ, and I do it a lot, the amount of minutes the guy plays is just, like, you do have to tip your cap to that part of it. Tonight he played 44, more than anybody in the game. Yeah. Thanks, Sheldon. Kevin Danishevsky with one more. As a philosophy major and an almost pre-law, I feel your pain. Please don't be a lawyer, Kevin. Don't be a lawyer. The world has enough lawyers. Shout out to our friends at Weiss and Rosenboom, by the way. Robert Cross, it's your boy John. Will Obi be on the team after the trade deadline? If he is, does it matter? Oof, goodness gracious. Hashtag 53 wins. I mean, does it matter? Yeah, it matters if he's here or not. The guy's still a talented player who has a skill set that's intriguing. And if they keep him after the deadline, I would actually here's why it matters. It matters because if they keep him after the deadline, unless they're idiots, I think it means that they still have some faith that somehow, some way it could happen for him here. Now, I don't know that I agree with that based on the evidence that we've seen. And for that reason, I'm actually going to say no to the first question. I don't think he's going to be on the team after the trade deadline. Unless I feel like if they could get a offer that they could like if the package that's proposed to Utah, Obi, Fournier, a protected first for Beasley and Vanderbilt, Like, I could see them doing that. You know, I don't love the deal, but I don't think it's insane either. And I wonder if they're like, look, this is the best we're going to get for this player. I don't know. I don't know. Thanks, Robert. Good question. I don't know if my answer was any good. Brian Benjamin, you all saw the video of Brunson in the team huddle? I did not. I did not. I apologize. Can Justin, if you're hearing this, and if anybody in the chat knows what Brian is talking about, I can maybe explain it in the chat, and then Justin could let me know. I'm happy to comment on it. I did not see the video though. Would a quick Google, would a quick Twitter search, do the trick? I'll take a look. Anyway, thank you, Brian. Hayden Freed, what's going on, Hayden? Abby's boyfriend here. Oh, you're Abby's boyfriend. Okay, you're a diehard fan, so that explains it. Her first game was December of 2021. Oh, December of 2021, not December 21st. Okay, that makes more sense. Right before the Cam trade. Am I sick for bringing my significant other into this mess? We sat next to Leon tonight. December of 2021. Man, that season was not going well. You're not sick. You're not sick. I hope you weren't the affirmative party, though. I hope it was more like, look, hun, I love basketball. I love this team. It's my thing. I would love for you to spend time with me and watch them. It's your choice. If you want to. I hope you weren't like begging her, like, please root for this team with me. I really want you to get into this. That would be a bit much. I would probably say that might get you into the fifth circle of hell. Yeah, we can't. I don't know what Brunson video we're talking about. Look, man, I hope you guys are happy together watching the Knicks together. I will just say, for what it's worth, my wife watched most of the We Here season with me, and she has not really watched since then because we have a second child. I miss it. I used to love watching games with her. It was great. It was great. I mean, when we first started dating, it was during the 2012-13 season. At the end of that season, the playoff run. So it is cool when you get to share with your significant other. I'll say that, when they're good. Thanks, Hayden. And thanks, Abby. Red Sarachek. J-Mac, I breathed and I got some ice cream after my negative Tibbs chat. The balanced conversation around Tibbs is necessary, so thank you. Wow. Thank you, Red. I appreciate that. I just want 7th Avenue shut down. We all want the same thing. And that's the tough part for me, Red. And I think, and again, I didn't say this explicitly before, but I should say it. I think the other reason a lot of people don't feel like doing the exercise about, are we being fair to the coach of the New York Knicks, is because a lot of people, I think, very credibly have the position that he is not the coach that is going to take them to the promised land. That is as valid a position as one could have. That's incredibly valid. If you just don't believe this coach is a guy who is capable of taking a team to a championship level. So, and if you're someone that wants to see a championship and you're like, well, this guy's not going to do it. Again, that's why I try very hard. I really do. People may not believe this, but I do really try very hard to sympathize with and empathize with where people are coming from with the criticisms. But I do still think that there is a way to do it in a way that is, God, I'm really going to be old man on lawn chair here. I'm not going to say respectful. Just like civil. That would be my word. Thank you, Red. Appreciate that very much. With another one, here's Red. Breaking the action 11 years ago today. Linsanity. Oh, my God, how I would love to sit here and talk about Linsanity. Shout out to Jeremy Lin, friend of the pod, Jeremy Lin. That was such a trip to. I could have talked to him. Funny behind the scenes story of that one that I think you couldn't probably tell on the pod. I was given a very strict time limit on that, and I blew past it. And I was so engaged in the interview that Andrew was texting me and sending me chats in the Zoom, because I think we did that one on Zoom. Like, dude, you got to cut it off. Last question. Like, there cannot be another question. And then finally, he had to jump on because the producer for Jeremy, and I don't blame her at all for this, was like, he needs to go. He's like blown past his time to start another interview. So Andrew had to jump in and be like, yeah, we got to end it right now. And so there's a funny story about that pod. As far as insanity goes, haven't ever experienced anything like that in sports. Felt like we were living in a fairy tale. Was not real. Couldn't be real. How could it be real? And it was. For like 2.5 weeks. It was real. Magic was real. Busy, what's going on, Busy? Like Kevin, I also like the no big 3 minutes. It felt like the ball didn't stick. Everyone played like equals and together. Those minutes for me made it clear. You have a ... here. I don't know if there's another comment coming after that. I have a feeling I know where you're going. Yeah, I loved it too. But that's part of the reason why the RJ conversation is so interesting to me, because, well, I'm not there yet. I do think there was a very valid conversation that this player works better, coming off the bench, in terms of given the specific. And again, I still wanted to play, but that's the problem, right? Because like Tibbs, does he trust him? Is it because he's the best option? I don't know, but he plays him all these minutes. You're not playing a guy 44 minutes coming off the bench. Now, there's a conversation to be had about whether he should be playing 44 minutes in any game. I don't know. It's just he has to stagger. And maybe staggering is enough, and he doesn't need to adjust the starting lineup. But I think it's a good call, Busy. I saw the exact same thing. Oh, one of the 3 need to go. Oh. Yeah. Brian Benjamin, the Clippers are a better team. We all know it. Yeah. I mean, I don't know what their championship odds are right now, but I imagine they're still pretty good. They're really tough to guard. The Clippers lose by self-inflicted wounds. Like, you kind of have to hope they make mistakes with the ball, and that their lack of a point guard ends up biting them in the ass. Because if they're going to play like this and they're going to shoot like this, like how many times do we watch Kawhi Leonard just take someone into the post, or Paul George take someone to the post and hit some ridiculous shot? Like, they could do that. And when you throw a Norm Powell in, who could put the ball on the floor and is really, Norm Powell scored 50 points in an NBA game. Like, that dude, or what was it, 40 something maybe, whatever it was, a lot of points. And we saw tonight why he's really talented. And they're gonna make a trade. I don't know what the trade's going to be. I don't know if it's Kyrie Irving. I don't know if it's going to be Fred VanVleet. I don't know if it's going to be, Mike Conley. Put Mike Conley on that team. I mean, I understand it introduces a defensive issue into the mix, but oh boy, they could use a Mike Conley. That team's good. They're really good. Thanks, Brian. Hayden Freed. Abby and I just graduated college. Oh, wow. That's awesome. KFS and the Knicks bring us joy, as wild as that is. You guys have made her a forever fan. Not me. Thank you, KFS. That's all. It's so sweet. Man, congratulations, guys. Got your whole lives in front of you. That's awesome. Enjoy your 20s. I'm going to give some life advice because Justin's telling me we're pretty much done. Give some life advice to you guys, because that's something I should be doing, is giving life advice. Have fun in your 20s. Don't make any mistakes you can't take back. Don't have kids anytime soon. I mean, it sounds like you guys are like only like dating or whatever. You're still young. No person should ever have a child before they are 30. That should be a law, actually. We should start arresting people for having kids in their 20s. I would co-sign that. On that note, go out a lot. Because when you have kids, that shit stops. So go out a lot in your 20s. But also, like, handle your business, do your whatever you're doing with your career. If there's a chance you want to take, if there's a career you've always wanted to pursue, do it in your 20s because it's real. Take it from me. It's really tough to decide later in life. Like, oh, I don't want to be a lawyer anymore. I'm going to teach. And oh, by the way, in my spare time while I'm commuting on the fucking train, I'll write about basketball. Oh, wow, my wife is pregnant now. That's okay. I'll find extra time to do this podcasting thing on the side. Yeah, that shit's really hard. Get all that sorted out in your 20s so that you could enter your 30s being like, I know who I am. I know what I want to do. I know where I want to be. And you could just live life because your 30s are going to be hard because you're going to have kids and that's no fun. It's fun, but it's not fun. Anyway, okay. That's life advice presented by Jonathan Macri for the 8 of you who wanted to hear that. Thank you, Hayden. Good luck to you and Abby. And congrats. Red Sarachek, for someone who could fly under the radar at times, Quentin Grimes is worth the price of admission. Buying his jersey for $55 a few months ago feels like highway robbery. That's a good purchase by you, Red. Quentin Grimes, I love him as... I think I honestly, this is going to sound messed up. I think I love him as an asset almost more than I love him as a player because he is always going to be valuable either to your team or and credit to Fred Katz. Fred Katz has been the one who's been saying this since the summer. You put Quentin Grimes on 29 other teams and that dude's not only going to play, he's going to play meaningful minutes. I don't know if he's going to start for 29 other teams, but he's going to play meaningful minutes. He's such an important piece to what they're doing. They need him. They need quickly, too. They need both of those guys. But, again, I'm not, if we're doing the list of, most indispensable Knicks, those two guys they put themselves in the conversation. They really do. Not the most, but, they're up there. Thanks, Red. Appreciate it. And I guess that's it. Justin, I'll give you a 10-second grace period window if you want to hop on and say anything to the fine folks at home. I'd love to have you. You have a wonderful smile. If not, that's okay too. I like when Justin gets on here because he's always has something interesting to say. But maybe another time. Okay. This is fun. Thanks, everybody. I know, this team doesn't make it easy on any of us. And it's annoying to have to, have these things every, so often be this referendum on, fandom or whatever, or the team or this and that. But, I do this because I'm passionate about it. I don't do this because I'm, want to waste my time. So hope it was okay for everybody tonight. We will see you tomorrow. Andrew, don't forget to check your podcast feed. Andrew has a banger of a pregame pod coming out on Philly. He teased it earlier. I'm not going to spoil it, but it's a good one. You're going to want to listen to this one. And then we'll be here after the Philly game, which who knows? We'll see. Maybe they surprise us. As always, thanks for tuning in. Remember, like the video. If you're watching this, you haven't liked the video, like the video. Subscribe to the channel. And if you're listening to this tomorrow in podcast form, on Sunday in podcast form or whatever, feel free to drop a 5-star rating or a review. We appreciate those things. See you live after the next game. And happy Saturday night, everybody. Peace out.